Okay, let's go back. All right, so the user stories go on these 3x5 cards. Well, what's a good user story versus a bad user story? Well, Armando loves acronyms, and so this to help you remember what they are. And this is acronym SMART is to help you figure out what's a good versus bad user story. So SMART is we want to have these 5 adjectives apply to your stories. They're specific, measurable, achievable. That is, can be done within one of these agile iterations. Relevant. This is supposed to be business relevant. So you often, as a programmer, will say, well, this would be a cool feature, but the question is, why does it matter? And usually doesn't matter to the business. And time boxed is a strange word to know when you ran out of time. So it's a limit. So let's just go over those. Specific and measurable. Each scenario should be testable. This implies that there's a known good input and expected result. And if you can't figure out what the specific input and the results, then it's not. So here's an example of something that's a nice thing to say, but it's not measurable, right? It's not testable. It should be user-friendly, right? Well, sure, it should be user-friendly. I can imagine somebody writing that down, but how do you test that, right? Do you human subject experience with 100 people, and then they check a box, is it friendly or not? Now, that's not very useful. We need something more specific. So that has led to this adjectives approach that you'll see that we use in specifying the steps of a scenario. We use commands given, when, and then. So given some specific starting condition, when I do X, then one of the more specific things should happen. So what we're looking for is specific inputs and specific results so that we can test it. So it's got to be testable. Specifically. All right. A stands for achievable. What are you going to do if you have a feature you want and you can't implement it in a single iteration? Because the whole idea of Agile is that it's always working, right? You don't want, at the end of an iteration, incomplete code. And the way for us to help figure out, for you to learn on your own how long it takes you to do something is actually to keep track of what your team does. So the model is simply that each of your teams, when you look at the stories, you try and evaluate how hard this is. We recommend that you start off with a 3-point scale saying whether it's basically easy, medium, or hard, and then you look at these stories and assign it a value. And then you calculate the velocity of your team, which is simply how many points you complete. So if you assign 3 stories each 3 points, and that's what you complete in an iteration, then your team did 9 points. And you accumulate the long-term average, which improves both your ability to estimate difficulty and how fast your team gets work done, and that's how you calculate your velocity. And then you'll be able to figure out how long things take. So you've done some user stories. Your team takes this long to do them. You've got a whole bunch of user stories in the backlog. You've estimated how many points they are. You divide the velocity into the remaining points. That gives you how long it's going to take to get things done. So that's a really simple, common sense idea. Why is that useful? Since you're talking to the stakeholder, the customers every week, you can tell them, wow, I think that's a great feature. If you want us to do these other stories, we won't be able to get to that for 2 months. And then that starts the feedback to decide, well, maybe you want to change the priorities. So achievable time box. How about the next, so S, so that was SMART. S, specific and measurable, achievable. R is business relevant. So it's supposed to have a business value in developing this software. So here's examples of them. It can protect revenue, or we usually think of it increase revenue, but it could protect it as well as increase it. It could reduce costs. It could increase the value of the brand so that people were going to like it better. Make the product stand out, provide more value to customers. And there's an example of a URL that you can go there. Now, something that we've heard about that can be useful to figure out the business relevance is what's called the 5 whys. And actually, I heard somebody call it the 12 whys. But basically, the deep insight is you just keep asking why. So let's do the Facebook friends as a manager. So I'm a box office manager. Armando's works with this theater in Alameda, and he's their IT guru. So why would you want to add a patron's Facebook friends? So he's the box office manager, so can I induce the patron to buy a ticket? All right. So then you'd ask, well, why? Why do you want to do that? Well, I want to sell more tickets. Well, why do you want to sell more tickets? Well, so we can get more money for the theater. Why do you want to get more money for the theater? Well, the theater just barely breaks even right now, and we need more money. And why do you want to do that? So I can have a job. Okay. So surprisingly, just by asking, simply you could have a dummy program, just keep asking why. It helps you sharpen your answers so you get down to what the real relevant reason is. So that simple mechanism helps you figure out what it is, the business value, rather than it just sounds like it's a good thing to do.